Okay, I'd like to call the August meeting of Sustainable Westborough to order and note that we are recording the meeting pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, and the governor's March 15th orders imposing limitations on the number of people gathering in one place. This meeting of the, oops, I could see a cut and paste there, Sustainable Westborough will be conducted via remote participation, and it is being recorded. The agenda is on the screen, and the first agenda item is to approve the minutes from July, which Carol sent out. Thank you very much, Carol. Does anybody have any questions or feedback on the? I did not spend much. I didn't spend any time with it until the meeting just started. So I see it says town will pay question mark. I'm not sure what that refers to. I will edit that bullet to be a little clearer in regard to the funding for the EV charging station. The town will pay for the EV charging stations. It says funds were taken out of last year's grant money. It doesn't mean that the town is taking the money out of the grant money. It's that there is no grant money to be applied to this, so it's coming out of general funds. Does that clarify it, Carol? Was that the question you had?
And we have 8 people, so we have a quorum to approve the minutes.
Yes.
Okay. I move we approve the minutes with Pete's comment.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Aye. You can just wave your hand, thumbs up, whatever. Okay. Any opposition or abstention other than Andy, who's not a member?
I'm still not technically a member either because I didn't take the ethics test. So.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, what are you trying to hide?
Are we also approving the June minutes because we didn't have a quorum last month?
Let's have a motion to approve the June minutes.
I move we approve the June minutes.
I second.
Second.
All in favor? Say aye or thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I
Okay. June and July minutes were approved. And our next agenda item is to review the Community Choice Aggregation Communication Plan, which Eileen, Carol in particular have been working on, and John has supported. But I think the actual slides are coming from Eileen or Carol.
they're coming from me, Eileen.
Okay. Let me make
So you're
you
going to have to give control to the Eileen that does not have a camera feed.
Okay, Stealth Eileen is now a co-host.
Okay. So I don't know, Carol, did you want to begin with, any statements, or do you
Maybe I
wanna-
could,
I am hoping that our PowerPoint flat out fulfills everybody's need to understand what this is. I mean, that was the goal as we made this. And Eileen's going to present it now. And yeah, hopefully you all will let us know if something's out of order and or if something's missing or there was too much in one place, and so we can get this ready to be available for the town.
Okay,
I
sounds good.
just one bit of background for folks who may not be totally intimate with all of it. So we are changing our electric contract, renaming it Westborough Power Choice as shown on the screen. Sustainable Westborough has committed to the Board of Selectmen to run the communication process for this change that's happening, where there's new pricing, new plans and so forth. And the presentation Carol and Eileen are going to go through is the draft of the kind of the resident focus, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's for kind of the common layperson that has limited understanding of community choice aggregation or any of the history. So it needs to be for the average person in town.
And the only thing I want to add to that is that the actual slides in terms of pictures, Peregrine is their graphics department are currently working on a design and a logo for our website. So what Eileen's gonna present tonight is missing the actual design, the actual logo. So you'll see either place savers or like what you're looking at right now won't look anything like this. Okay.
Okay, good point.
Yeah, so I'm just going to add, it's a kind of a work in progress. So here we go. So I'm going to present this as if I'm talking to a group of strangers. So thanks for being my strangers for tonight. I'm here to let you know how you can get environmentally friendly electricity in an affordable manner. Westborough Power Choice is town-sanctioned, town-negotiated electricity program established in 2016. Sorry, technical difficulties changing the page here. There we go. 4 years ago, under the auspices of our town manager and board of selectmen, Westborough formed the Westborough Community Choice Aggregation. Its purpose was to attempt to provide affordable electricity while decreasing our town's carbon footprint. Although the program was excellent, the name was not. So we've renamed our electricity program and are reintroducing it to you as Westborough Power Choice, our town-sanctioned, town-negotiated electricity program.
I like the beginning already.
Thank you. Let's go back a few years to explain how it all started. For years, utilities like National Grid had monopolies on setting prices and determining the mixture of energy sources used to produce electricity. National Grid chose the supplier, maintained the grid to deliver the electricity, and sent you a bill. National Grid's prices were and still are variable, changing based on supply and demand. Even today, National Grid continues to obtain its electricity predominantly from fossil fuels, with the minimum required coming from renewable energy sources.
Do you want comments right away?
I'm thinking I'd like to wait, if you don't, but
I think rolling all the way through would be good.
yeah, I
Okay.
prefer to
Right.
get it on the
I don't want to forget that. Okay.
Yeah, well, take some notes, I guess. Okay, so in 1997, Massachusetts passed a law enabling residents and small businesses to combine their purchasing power and negotiate together for the best possible electricity package. By combining or aggregating our energy use, we can choose the most environmentally friendly and increase the likelihood of getting lower energy prices. Although better prices can never be guaranteed, By combining our purchasing power with our neighbors, Westborough Power Choice offers increased clean energy from local sources at fixed and reliable prices or costs. Over 140 Massachusetts municipalities have chosen electricity aggregation. Among them are our neighbors in central Massachusetts, Grafton, Southborough, Upton, Worcester, and more. So what changes and what stays the same? As a participant in Westborough Power Choice, everything stays the same for you except that Westborough purchases power directly from the energy producers. National Grid still maintains the physical structures and continues to send your bills. If the power goes out, or if you have a question on your bill, you can still call National Grid. Net metering discounts will remain the same, as will budget discounts and solar panel agreements. Now, when you receive your bill from National Grid, there are two parts. One part is the delivery portion of your bill. That's determined by National Grid, and it will remain exactly the same. This slide shows a sample of the delivery services portion of a bill. The red arrow shows the item, delivery services. The second part of your National Grid bill is the supply portion. It reflects the utility program that you've chosen. It's the only part of your bill that changes when you join. This slide shows an example of a bill for a current Westborough Community Choice aggregation member. The red arrow points to the supply services header. The supply portion of your bill is calculated based on the rate of the option that you choose. Again, the delivery portion of your bill does not change. So this current Westborough Community Choice aggregation members see Public Power as the supplier, as you can see on the slide, followed by the caption Westborough AGG. This is your confirmation that you're already participating in Westborough's electricity program. After November, Westborough Power Choice members will see ... I don't know what that is yet. Hopefully John can inform us. So our first two contracts offered two choices: a fixed price option for the state minimum level of renewable energy at a great price, or a green option sourced from 100% renewable energy at a competitive fixed price. So how did we do? Turns out that we had two good contracts. The orange line on this graph is National Grid's basic service with fluctuating rates. The blue line represents Westborough's town negotiated standard option over the course of 4 years. As you can see, National Grid's price fluctuates with seasons. And in comparison, in some years we've done better, and some years we have not done as well. And please note that our second contract's pricing was beginning in 2018, was exceptionally low and is not likely to be repeated. In summary, the biggest financial advantage of a fixed price contract has historically been over the winter, when most of us use more electricity. Of course, no one can predict the future, and lower prices can never be guaranteed. Our new contract will take effect with your November 2020 meter readings and remain in effect through October 2023. As part of this new contract, Westborough Power Choice will now offer 3 different options, giving you choices on price and environmental impact. The standard default option gives you the chance to substantially reduce your reliance on fossil fuels while ensuring a competitive fixed rate. 41% of your electricity will be sourced from renewable green energy sources. The 100% green option is one of the most effective ways you can reduce your carbon footprint. All of the energy comes from renewable, environmentally friendly energy sources. All of the energy is locally produced, keeping renewable energy jobs local and encouraging profits to stay local. The budget option offers the minimum amount of renewable energy required by the state with the lowest price Westborough was able to negotiate. Changing your options within Westborough Power Choice is also simple. You're never locked into an option. If you're already a participant in the default option under Community Choice Aggregation, you'll be automatically registered in Westborough Power Choice Standard Default Option with 41% renewable energy. Opting down to budget option can be easily done at any time. Similarly, opting up to the 100% green option can be done at any time. Or you can go back to standard. Sustainable Westborough is committed to making the process of changing your option as easy as possible, and we'll be happy to supply support to residents that need assistance. Our newest pricing at the budget level is lower than most other municipalities that have recently negotiated contracts. As you can see, we're going to change this slide, by the way, I believe. On the right-hand side of the center chart, you see a reddish orange circle for Westborough. That's in our new contract. It's our it's our budget option. And the other yellow dots are other municipalities that have recently signed contracts. So it's a comparison of our prices to theirs, and we fall right there in the mix. Even our standard renewable falls right within the mix. Now, maybe you've received marketing materials from companies asking you to sign up for their cheap and green electricity programs. There are competitive suppliers who want to provide you electricity, or to you, or residents and businesses. They make claims to have better rates or green energy, but this rarely turns out to be the case. The Massachusetts Attorney General's office recently completed a 2-year investigation, and they found that these companies target low-income and elderly residents. They use aggressive and deceptive marketing tactics. Their cancellation fees are high. Their rates tend to start low and rise significantly and unpredictably. The green energy that they use tends to be from out of the region. Their study showed that competitive supply customers have paid more than $176 million more than other customers or other consumers. If you're looking for an environmentally friendly, fixed price electricity that you can trust, look for the Westborough Power Choice name, Westborough Power Choice logo, and the Westborough Town official town seal. And those are placeholders at the bottom. Why is Westborough Power Choice the right choice? There are many reasons to participate. A guarantee of stable electricity costs for 36 months, control over the amount of renewables in your energy mix, a town vetted and negotiated program you can trust with no hidden costs. a group purchased price, which can potentially save you money, although this can never be guaranteed. A flexible program, we are never locked in and can leave at any time with no penalty or fee. We encourage you to switch to Power Choice. There are no fees, no penalties. You can join or leave at any time. Welcome to Westborough Power Choice. So that's it. Comments, please.
Can I offer some?
Absolutely.
But could you go back to maybe the second or third slide, Eileen, where you had 4 boxes? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay, next one down. Okay, can you repeat what you said for this? Because what you said was more impactful than what the
Okay.
slide says.
Okay, so I said, let's go back a few years to explain how all this started.
Right.
For years, utilities like National Grid had monopolies on setting prices.
Okay, hold on
And
right there. Had monopolies on setting prices, which is much more powerful than just selected an electricity supplier. And I think more important. So I think you might want to emphasize that that would no longer be the case by saying that they had monopoly. I don't know what other people think about that.
I would agree. That monopoly on setting prices and choosing electricity sources.
Right.
So somehow build that into our chart or our graph picture here. Okay.
Right. Then the rest I think made sense on those 4 options. Then you went down to the bubbles and you talked about.
Can you just, while we're on this graph, go up one? Nope, down one. The one with the Westborough Community Choice, the one that has the same icon except it's up. I would recommend making the Westborough chooses a different color, like a green, or put a green background on it to kind of emphasize so that the person's eyes drawn right to that.
Good point.
I wasn't sure how to do that, given that this is a Peregrine illustration. If anybody after this meeting has a quick, how could we quickly like Photoshop that different color? I'd be happy to do that. I just don't.
Okay, couldn't Peregrine fix that for us?
Yes.
Do we bother them to, or
Yes.
is it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Just as it really causes the emphasis to go right where you want it to.
Okay.
That's a very good point.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lee.
Sure. Then you had 3 bubbles, I think 3.
That's for the new plan, the new contracts.
Yep. One more, I think, where you had 3.
Yep.
Okay, here. Yep. When you're speaking about it, you start with the standard default option, then the 100% green, and then you go to the budget. So I think the bubbles should be in that order. So that would mean the budget option would move all the way to the right. You start with the standard default, then the green, and then the budget. Do you remember how you said that?
Yeah, I said standard green and budget. And actually Carol had it written standard budget green, but I switched it because of the animation. But I can change it again.
Yeah, just because I want my eyes to follow what you're saying, and you started with standard.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't matter to me. What do you think, Carol? Do you want to? I can switch them up.
I think the advantage of the way it is, if you click one more of the animation, click so that the numbers show up. This is then in cost order from least expensive on the left. So there is a logic of having it in this order.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
The amount of renewable, the amount of renewable increases from left to right, the cost increases from left to right.
I also think
Okay.
before you get to this point, it's really important to emphasize that the price will be fixed. I think you only mentioned that once at the end, but that's a really big selling point because those predatory companies, they give you a rate, but then they change it all the time and raise it. So
That's a
I
good
think
point.
I think it would be good to put on this slide visually with a box, just showing that everybody is kind of it says default, but I think also put a box around it so that everyone knows that's the option that everybody is popped into.
Oh, I think what I could do is, rather than putting a box around it, maybe what I'll do is make it a solid border of a different color. That would emphasize it, but rather than give it a box. Or if we choose to do that, you know.
good idea.
I think it's a good point. Then I'm not sure where this came, but you said if you need assistance, but I wasn't sure what you meant. If you need assistance with what?
Getting it signed up.
With signing up or with choosing an option, either.
So maybe just making that a little clearer of what you might need assistance with.
There was one thing here, and I may have missed it. It sounded a little bit like people needed to take action. My guess is that most of the audience
Doesn't.
will be people who are already in the program, and we need to emphasize that they need to take no action if they're happy with what they're going to get slotted into. They only need to take action if they want to go to a different option.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
it sounded
point.
like everybody had to take an action, and actually 99% of the people will have to take no action. And I think somehow we need to not get people riled up that they have something to do.
Yeah, I guess it says default option. I'm not sure if I.
But in listening to the
Yeah.
narrative, it wasn't clear to me that you're basically you're already in the program. If you do nothing, you're in the middle standard default option, correct?
Right. If you're in the program today and haven't opted out to something else, then you will get in the new program and into automatically slotted.
But Katie,
So that key thing of looking at your bill and seeing to verify, if you don't know, what you're in today is an important step.
but John, we were not in the program and were surprised to find out that for some reason when we bought this house, we weren't put in the program. And
Well, right. What happens is, and this happens with new people who buy a house or start a business in Westborough, they are theoretically, you're sent a letter, and theoretically you go into the plan unless you decline, but there have been mistakes made in the past where people, things happened and you don't know. And so there's a certain, there's 20% of the households, I think, in town that are not in the plan. And we don't actually know all the reasons. They may have opted out. There may have been an administrative screw up. Who knows? So we have to be prepared for a certain set of people not knowing and legitimately not knowing. And those are the people I think we're worried about, is catching them and helping them get into the right thing if they're not in it.
So that slide with the big arrow pointing to your bill, that's great. Those examples are great, I thought, for that reason. And also, did I miss it, or did you talk about people who are not already in the Westborough aggregation program as of now? Like, how do those people get in?
So we haven't specifically given instructions about how to join. I just want to back up to the last topic for a moment and come back to this. So on this slide that I'm showing right now, I do say, if you're already a participant in the default option under community choice aggregation, you will be automatically registered in Powered Choice's standard option. So I do say that, but you're asking to have it printed someplace. It sounds to me like we've got some auditory people and some visual people, so it should be both printed and said.
I don't see that on that slide, Eileen.
It's not on the slide, but I say it during the slide. That's the problem.
Oh,
So
okay.
we need we need to make it something that that's visual, that you see
Yeah.
as well as hear.
Okay, right.
So then the other question is, where do we tell people that they can join? And, or how to join? We haven't, Carol, correct me if I'm wrong, but we just give them a call to action to switch to Power Choice
Right. I think what we do is
later on.
right. I think we tell people to go to the website, but we don't specifically say that it will be on the menu, you know, whatever you call that, the menu that goes across the banner, whatever that is called. We don't specifically say that. Should we be saying that, you know, go to the website, look for the menu, you know, how specific should we be in this?
Pretty specific.
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
just
So
add the
I think-
website right there below the text.
Yeah, so the next one is the website. So I think ideally we'd be able to go into the website and say,
Oh, yeah.
here's where you come. This is what I was thinking anyway. Here's westboroughpowerchoice.com. This is not the right web address right now. And then we can point out how to, you know, we could actually, if we could do this live, we could actually show them how to do it.
Mhm.
You know, go here,
Well, there's
click
something
this,
very intriguing
type
called
that in.
enroll.
Yeah, right, enroll. So you go here to enroll, we can have the next screen that actually shows that screen of how you enroll, what you type in.
Not
Can
to
show a screen of how to opt out. I just don't know how much training you want to do on the website. I mean, I used to do that professionally. I'm comfortable with it. I just wasn't sure how far we want to go in.
Can I just ask a quick question? Pete, when you were talking about nesting with Marlena, was enroll one of the things that was going to be nested under
Yeah,
options?
there's going to be a menu bar. The menu bar that starts with FAQ is going to have something called Your Options instead of what's there, Options and Pricing. And if you either click on it or hover over it, you can get to opt up, opt down, enroll, kind of all the different variations, rather than kind of list them all the way across the top. It's kind of a one-stop shop called Your Options.
Should enroll be freestanding? You know, everything stays the same, all the options stay grouped together, but enroll is like a separate thing?
What are people's opinions?
I'm not sure how that would, I'm not following. If we have it under options of pricing and enroll, are you saying that they're redundant going to those two places?
Well, I like the redundancy personally.
Okay,
I like having it see there, enroll. Oh, okay, that's exactly where I go.
sure, yeah. So it's not bad to have redundancy. So you're saying we can get to the same place where you can choose something. We can go under facts, options of pricing, or enroll.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay with me.
So will this presentation be so that people can click on links in the presentation? Because if that's the case, you can just put a button that says enroll and, you know,
I
directly
don't.
there.
No, it's not going to be like they can. I don't think I don't have the technical know-how to make them be able to roll right into the website and do it themselves. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, that's
You
way
can do
beyond
add
me.
things, but I'm not sure how it would work with their official, the Peregrine official stuff. So
We could
Yeah.
talk about that. Because you can do it, you could make a PDF and then just have hyperlinks within the PDF that go to any of the pages.
And
Oh,
can
okay.
Mark Stockman help us with that, or do you not need him for that?
I could show them how to do it.
Okay.
If for that particular task, there may be other things that I don't know how to do, but I know how to do that. Any other feedback on what was presented? Then I got kind of
Yeah.
a higher level question.
Just a little bit. You have one slide that said, we found that the companies did certain things. Like changed prices capriciously, whatever that slide, we found that.
Oh, the one with the zigzaggy graph?
No, the
No.
Attorney
Or no,
General,
you're talking about the competitors.
Yeah,
Attorney General slide.
This
Yeah.
one.
okay. So the Mass Attorney General investigation found that, I would say they, because they are the predatory electricity suppliers. So the Mass Attorney General investigation found that
Oh,
they target low income. I just put the they in there.
oh, okay.
And then, otherwise you're not quite sure, well, who did it? Then
Yeah.
you said verbally, if they go with what we're talking about, you said it's an option you can trust, but you didn't put can trust on your words, on your print. And I thought that's important.
Oh, the next one is trust your electricity program.
Mhm.
So my words were, if you're looking for an environmentally friendly fixed price electricity that you can trust, look for. So it's just wording about that
Well,
you're not
maybe,
following.
yeah, trust your
Yeah,
electricity
for an
program.
electricity program you can trust, look for. Just flip it around.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, what are you saying, John?
Something like,
Oh, look.
for an electricity program you can trust, look for.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
good. That would fix it, what I was thinking about, John. Absolutely.
I think you guys did an awesome job because it's a lot of information.
Oh, yeah.
Very clear and concise, minimalist. So
Yeah.
great,
Yeah, that's
good
great.
work. I was worried. I'm just worried about the one slide. You did say you were going to change it, but the one which compared kind of our pricing with other towns. It
Yeah.
was very because the price for the 100% green was like off the chart way at the top, and so it up to the top, that last arrow, it doesn't look appealing in that form at all, and it's kind of confusing. So I don't know if there's a way to just, I know you were going to change it, but if we can't make it look better, I think we should just leave it out and just say something like we're comparing favorably to other towns or something.
Yeah, I didn't understand this at all, actually, looking at it. And I'm normally pretty good looking at graphs, but
We took this slide from Pete. I think this was part of the information you gave to the Board of Selectmen, Pete? Is that?
Yes, yes.
And we've already had this discussion that in its current format, it doesn't make sense to those of us that are laymen how this is helpful. And Eileen has multiple times asked, can't we just dump this? So we're just waiting on Pete to make it a more user-friendly piece of information if it's sharing.
Do we really need this? Is anybody going to decide to move to a different town because of this?
That's exactly the way I agree.
I'm not sure it's needed to get a point. It's not central to the overall message of this. It's not that it isn't interesting, but I don't think it's central.
To me, the more important point, because correct, we can't get another price unless you move to another town, is just talking about what's the difference in the plans for like the average household. So like if you stay in the middle plan, you know, for only X amount more, you're making an environmentally friendly choice, and for Y more, you can go into the most green plan. But like put it in the realm of like what's you know,
I think that's an important point, and part of how we ended up with the 20% renewable was to keep the annual cost to a resident to about a 3% difference between the minimum and the budget and the standard. So scratch this slide, and I like Katie's suggestion of having one that kind of turns it into hard dollars and say for an average resident that means this to you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah, because like for I don't know, because I don't know the numbers, like for only like $15 more for the average household, you can make the green choice.
55,
Yeah,
55.
yeah, whatever the numbers are, but I think we got to put it in like concrete terms like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion.
Can I throw in a question that Eileen and I were talking about earlier today, which is Peregrine actually supplies this calculator as part of this website, where you could throw in the amount of BTUs that you use for any given month, and it automatically is showing you what the dollar amount you'll be paying in each of our 3 options.
Wow.
Should that be in here? And if yes, like where would
Yeah,
that?
I think something like that, either the annual cost or the monthly cost. I think that's a good thing to do. And featuring the website calculator is probably a good way to do it, to make people use the website.
So we can
Um,
actually demo it on the
Mhm.
website.
So I want
Yeah,
to
okay.
wrap up this section of the meeting, and thank you for taking this. It's really good quality and right on the mark. It's going to be very valuable. I do. We're going to need to have a rollout where we start presenting this. So we're going to need to also get kind of a plan where we have meetings on the calendar and we start communicating to people that there's going to be meetings. I assume they're all going to be Zoom meetings, and kind of build that cadence of, and when we do that, then we're going to set a deadline where all of this stuff has to be final. Finals in quotes, because as soon as you start using it, you may find that, gee, that slide's confusing everybody, I got to tweak it. But that's all good. And I think we need to have it like September 8th or 7th or something. I think we said we were going to try to have it done.
There's one more just little piece to it, just to remind everybody. This is going to be reviewed by Peregrine, just to make sure we didn't say anything misleading. They're just going to look it over.
Yeah,
Marlena.
everything that gets presented to the public has to get reviewed by the Department of Public Utilities at the end of the year to make sure we're not being deceptive. Peregrine's gonna, as Carol said, make sure we don't get in trouble at the end of the year when they see our stuff.
So September 8th, remind me, that's the date that we want to have this presentation done.
Yeah, we
Ready to
had
roll.
talked about having the the town press release on that date, and we should be,
Okay,
in the press release, we should say there's going to be community meetings, blah, blah, blah. The first one is on this date, and I think we should be kind of ready to roll.
I think we talked about the selectmen meeting is on the 8th, yeah, so that it could be announced at the Board of Selectmen and a press release going out at that time.
And
That's a Tuesday.
And the other thing Marlena reminded us was there's some legal obligation we have to the utilities to have, I think, to have our public statement out for them to see 3 days ahead of when we do the rollout. Is that correct? Did anyone else hear her say that?
The energy supplier has, we have an obligation to show them what the public statement is. We can receive their comments. We're under no obligation to do anything about their comments.
So if we wanted to do a press release on September 8th, we could send it to the supplier September 1st,
Right.
give them their 3 days. They'd be embargoed. They wouldn't release it. But that's a good thing to keep in mind on our timeline.
And then Peregrine will do that for us. They will
Yes.
take care of the
Yes.
communication.
Okay.
I think the other thing that you kind of mentioned in the discussion was we'll help you navigate making these selections and stuff. So we need to Lee kind of alluded to this, put some boundaries on that. It's like, okay, well, how do you make a request that you want help? And who in this call is going to be doing the help and helping them navigate it? And you do it one by one as people say they need help, or are you going to do it in a group process? Or so we need to.
Pete, on that front, does the website that we're setting up have like technology that's pretty common these days, where you can just like, just fill in, like, give in your contact info via a bot, and sometimes you can set up the bot to answer most of the questions that people have, and then after that route it to a person?
I think, I don't know about a bot, but you can fill out a form on the website. We can have a form fill and then get an email. That email has to go to somebody, and that somebody has to be ready to take action. That
But
was
people
kind
can
of my
also
point.
call the number on there, the Peregrine number, which amounts to Peregrine, I believe, and get assistance, I'm sure.
I think that that's probably a good way to do it, is to have Peregrine take on as much of that load as possible.
Right.
But we just need to kind of be really clear on how that works, because you say it in the presentation, which I thought was good. Somebody raises their hand and we need to be ready to have a crisp answer on that.
So are we gonna talk more about where that line would be, like privately, not as part of this, but with ideas for how to spell that out exactly? Could
Yes.
we in our smaller group work
Yeah,
that out?
the four of us who've been having this discussion could take that offline and try to
Okay.
give that shape. I think that's a good suggestion. And in Marlena and probably Kim, and make sure that everybody's on the same page. And we'll try to get Peregrine to take on as much of that as possible, which I think they're willing to do. But we just need to be clear on exactly what's Peregrine's service scope and how do people ask for it. And I think it's all going to work out. I'm not really worried about it. It's just we need to be crisp on it. Okay. And we should. I think the draft of the website is supposed to be done next week. There was an email about that. So we should have a meeting with Marlena as soon as the website's ready and kind of go through the presentation and all these topics. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. Thank you, Eileen, Carol, and John for the good work on the communication plan. John, on the Eversource pipeline, can you give the meeting an update, please?
Sure. For those of you, the Board of Selectmen invited Eversource to come back and meet with them in a public forum to talk about the latest information about the pipeline. Prior to that, the Eversource and the town have been talking via lawyers, and Eversource had indicated that it's interested in needing to file permits with the state in likely the September timeframe. So the town said, we really want to understand, you haven't responded to our questions from last winter. I think this meeting that occurred was at the Selectmen's meeting on, if I remember correctly, July 24th. For those of you who had the pleasure of watching that meeting, it was sort of a canned presentation, a lot of repetition of what we've heard before, and in most ways did not address the concerns and questions that had been detailed from the prior meeting. And a letter had been sent to the Eversource contact saying we have a number of issues. And they did not address those. And I think overall the selectmen were, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but essentially displeased and unhappy with that. And they have since then drafted yet another letter to to Eversource, copying our state representatives and state senator, saying essentially, you didn't give us this information and we still want it, and et cetera. We can supply. I think we'll send out a copy of those letters later to all people here. And so we're at a point where, Eversource is essentially not being straightforward with the town, not bothering to answer questions. There's various words individuals have used, words like arrogant and dismissive and various other things I've heard. You can interpret it any way you wish, but I think there was a overall feeling they don't really feel like they want to give the town straight answers to the kinds of questions they are. Lee may have something else to say about that. So we're at the point that they may just try to go ahead and ignore us, or maybe they won't. We don't quite know yet. Lee, do you have any comments, being sort of a semi-insider? I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, but you didn't put words in our mouths. We actually did say we're very disappointed at the meeting, and we still are going to go ahead as soon as they finish something they have to file with our notification that we object to this process in the program. So we can't do it until they have, you probably know what it is, John. They have to do some kind of filing
They're going to file as an
first.
intervener, I believe.
Yeah, but we can't file as intervener until they do something.
Yeah, they have to initiate it. You can't intervene in something that hasn't been created yet.
Right. So we're waiting for that, but the selectmen definitely plan to go ahead with our announcing our intervening.
So, and a few other people were watching that. I know Andy did. I know Pete did. I'm not sure anybody who else on this call did. I don't know. Anybody else has any crisp comments? You're welcome to. What are your any other?
John, I would like to ask you a question, and then give way to everybody else. It seemed to me that when they explained the option that they were planning versus the alternative, that the alternative that we favor was quicker and cheaper, even by their own presentation. Was that the impression you got?
So just for everybody's purposes, there is a favored route, which is the route that goes right down Flanders Road and across East Main Street and by the Willows and up to Lyman Street and Route 9. That's the preferred route. They have a slightly revised alternate route, which doesn't come down the narrow part of Flanders Road, but goes up so-called Connectors Road and connects to the feed line at the corner of Connector Road and Route 9. Doesn't go all the way down to Lyman Street, so it's a shorter route. So if you have to put up with, as Lee said, if we have to put up with this and we can't get them to not do it at all, then the many people and the selectmen, I would say overall, would prefer this new alternate route that doesn't go as close to and misses a lot of the sensitive neighborhoods and institutions along the Flanders Road route, East Main Street area, Lyman Street area.
So
and it's cheaper. They complain that it is less effective because it's not as long of a line and wouldn't give them as much of a pressure boost or pressure resilience as that. So they had some argument against it.
So I think it's really important that we not refer to the plan that goes down Connector Road as our preferred plan. Our preferred plan is to shut the thing down and not do any natural gas pipeline at all. So I think we need to just stay kind of on the goal here is to have them not build the pipeline. And
the core of the argument is the one that I think everybody's heard several times. I mean, the overall state strategy of getting, very significant greenhouse gas emissions between now and 2050 means that, the peak gas demand will occur sometime in this coming decade, and gas usage will have to go down. That's the only way you can get to that goal. So this expanding pipelines, all that kind of expansion will become obsolete and unnecessary within the decade. And you can argue about the date exactly, but the general fact is that. And so why are they building this when it's very clear that it will become obsolete. And I think we all know that it's basically, like in Washington, follow the money. It has to do with dividends and short-term profitability. But that's not the way you argue about this. So they won't answer the question, which was posed by the selectmen's letter. How does this conform to local and state, climate goals? They refuse to address that issue. So they're really, it's really disheartening to hear them sort of, ignore what some of the core requests are.
Can we?
Did you
Go
know,
ahead.
John, maybe you already know this, and Lee should probably know, but I read something this week that I think Westborough, in conjunction with the state, has applied for a very big grant to redo that connector road intersection, which is really bad. Like, they're gonna try to redo that whole section. So in regards to the pipeline, worst case scenario, this could be ammunition to make them choose the alternate route if they have to do one, because they're going to open up that whole section anyway. I mean, they're not ever, the gas company isn't, but the state and everybody is. So it would make sense that if you're already opening everything, they would do everything at the same time. I don't know.
I would encourage us not to bring that up. It gives them ammunition to justify building the natural gas pipeline. I think if we lose the battle, we can have that discussion later. The real issue is we shouldn't be building this natural gas pipeline at a time when natural gas demand is going to peak within 5 or 7 years. And what happens is the asset gets amortized into the rate base for the people that are left behind on natural gas, and the rates are going to go up. And it's not Eversource shareholders are going to pay for it. It's residents of Westborough are going to pay for it. So we don't want them to be building it because it's going to be a stranded asset and it's going to drive up the cost to Westborough residents who are still using natural gas in the 2030 timeframe. So we just don't want them to build it. So I don't think we should be focused on which route to take. It's how do we stop them from building it?
Yeah, and just in terms of underscoring just that it's understood that peak gas usage is just about there for the state of Massachusetts. So there actually is, they keep on refusing to actually give the numbers of why, they say, oh, we need it to give gas to this region, but that's not true because they refuse to tell us the actual numbers to back it up. So we know it's the way that they're incentivized to make money is when they build pipelines, they get a return for their investors. And that's
right.
I would like to interject that their own presentation said that they wanted to increase their customer base. That was in their write-up.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
No, it's clear that's what they want to do, but that's and that's just exactly the backwards from what needs to happen. So they're not acknowledging that the state is going to have to go in a different direction that's inconsistent with what they're doing. It's sort of.
So anyways,
go ahead, Deb.
I'm just wondering, in terms of ways that we can actually stop them, the best way to stop them is cuts by 1,000 deaths, right? 1,000 paper cuts, because the only thing that will stop them is that if, the only way you stop pipelines is if you just keep on fighting them from all different levels. And so I'm so grateful that the select board has, at least said that they'd intervene in the EFSB hearing. The problem is that once it gets there, it usually almost always gets approved. So
what are the tactical things we can do? So for example, could we have a letter writing campaign and get Westborough residents to send letters to the town government and to the State House representatives and have them, hundreds of letters come in saying, we don't want this. Could we engage the Attorney General's office, who has already put the DPU on notice that they need to consider the Global Warming Solutions Act and greenhouse gas emissions goals in their work, and get them to use this as a case study of how that analysis needs to be applied in this case. There's an Office of Ratepayer Advocacy, just for the reasons I mentioned earlier, that all this infrastructure cost is going to be borne by the ratepayers. There's an office in the Attorney General's office that's responsible for protecting ratepayers. Should we be contacting that office and engaging them in a discussion of how they can help us prevent this problem?
I think it's probably one of the only, I'm not sure that even they have jurisdiction in terms of stopping Eversource. I think, you know, because DPU is, you know, owned by Eversource, but I think it's definitely worth a call just to ask their advice.
I don't know enough to comment on that, Pete.
Well, I think the question is that a request that should come from the town, or could it come from a group of citizens? I don't know enough to answer that.
I think the town, Chris, my impression from Christie and Lee's also just kind of alluded to it, is of an opinion that we wait until the DPU filing and then we work as an intervener. I think it was Deb, it might have been John, said once you get a case open in front of the DPU, you lose most all the time. So I would think our goal would be to try to prevent it, to provide the paper cuts to Eversource before they file.
And we're following the pattern I think Hopkinton has already put in place in one other town that's affected by this. So the Board of Selectmen said, yes, let's do what other towns are doing. We just have to add on to their opposition. And I'm not sure, Cheryl, what you were talking about. The town has not requested from the state to do any revision of the connector road intersection with Route 9. The state has been working for several years on a revision of 495 as it comes through Westborough. And that's well on its way and is something that we don't have any control over. It's going to improve access to 495 north and southbound from Westborough, but it isn't anything that we requested. And I think in general, we feel like there's going to be a benefit to the town to have it done. But it's a huge project. So I don't know if that's what you were referring to, because there isn't any other separate project for Connector Road Route 9 as far as I know.
It was an application for a grant. So it's early stages. It was just an application for a grant. So I'm not sure what.
If you can send me whatever reference you have to it, I'm totally unfamiliar with it.
Yeah, I read it in one of the newspapers.
So one strategy that it's kind of, one strategy I would think would be if we can drag on the process long enough, there'll be more and more data that's available that shows that natural gas demand is peaking or will peak, and the data would become clearer over time. So just getting a year or two stall in the process is probably reduces Eversource's chances of getting a successful BPU hearing. So I think things we can do that causes the project to stall, I think, is one good tactic we can take on.
Yeah, and I know they seem to be trying to move it forward quickly. So.
Yeah, because they want to get it into the rate base as quick as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know the folks at the Attorney General's office. So if I can act as a liaison with them, I'm happy to.
Let me follow up with Christy and Lee offline and talk about the Attorney General office idea. And I think it would be best to come from the town manager versus average citizen, making a request. Coming more officially from the town, I think, would be more appropriate.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing that you could ask for is a cost benefit analysis of um, electrifying the new houses that they're trying, the new customers, instead of putting them on gas, putting them on electrification in terms of, construction expense and cost to the homeowner. Just like demand, like okay, if it's the cheapest way.
It's demand reduction. I mean, they got that concession out of the Columbia Gas purchase related to someplace in Western Mass, where they're going to do some electrification enhanced rebate programs rather than build some additional infrastructure. So there are precedences for doing that. I think they gave that up for the, as a bargaining chip.
So
I'm not
I
sure
think,
what we could do here, but we could certainly push for that. It's the right thing to do long term. That's what's going to happen.
so
Yeah.
the letter
think
that
that-
It doesn't help them with their rate. The problem is, it's their dividends and their shareholders that doesn't help.
No,
So
exactly.
that's-
But the whole point is like, and I think that this is it's one of the laws that people are fighting to try to get passed, is just like anytime a new project is built, they need to do a cost benefit analysis for what it would cost to electrify these same households that they're talking about supplying gas to over the next 30
in the
years.
letter that Christie sent after the July 28th meeting, it did have a section which talked about that they failed to include electric air source heat pumps investment as an alternative. When they did their alternative list in their document to us, they didn't include electrification. So our letter back to them criticized them for that. I don't remember how it was phrased exactly, whether it was asked. It didn't use the cost benefit analysis, but it did request that they do air source heat pumps as an alternative to the capital investment in a gas pipeline.
Yeah, it's like just understanding every house that gets built is going to have to be converted after it's built. So,
Yeah.
Add that to the cost. If it's
Um,
not built electric.
Okay. Anything else, John? And Cheryl just posted a link to the Community Advocate article, Lee. John, anything else on Eversource you want to bring up?
Well, we're certainly looking for ideas. I mean, if we can certainly explore the Attorney General thing, I'm still wouldn't, it may be, if it makes sense, if they're not presidents. I don't know, Deb, whether you know enough contacts to, if they get contacts from everyday citizens who feel there's a problem, do they pay attention? That would be an interesting question. Or should we only go through the town?
I don't know. I mean, I could just ask them.
Yeah, I mean, we have these concerns, and do we have any standing, or will they read our letters or something? I don't know.
Do you think Maura Healy will care that some of us contribute to her campaign?
I think Maura Healy wants to get us off of gas. So I think that she will listen to citizens or town, because I think that she gets it.
I think the
contribute
notion that
six
this is sort of an ideal test case.
To make a
is an interesting
suggestion,
point.
somebody could, Deb, if you could contact the Attorney General's office, find out if there is a process, and then you could bring a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to say, this is how to proceed. It would save a step or two.
That's good. That's a good suggestion.
I like that, Andy, and I can do that.
Cheryl, just to get back to you, the project you're asking about doesn't really have anything to do with redoing 495, Route 9 or anything. It's just to make Connector Road actually connect to Flanders Road with a stoplight, so that traffic coming up and down Flanders Road, east and west, will actually be slowed down and stopped. And people that are in that entire industrial complex that Chris Egan owns up on the hill and Connector Road and everything, don't have to go out to Route 9 to get onto 495, then go down to Flanders Road and out through Hopkinton to get on 495. So it's going to decrease traffic a lot on Flanders Road into Westborough, but it isn't a global kind of thing that would have anything to do with helping or hindering Eversource's work on Flanders Road. If you want more information, I can help you with that.
Okay, good discussion. Thank you, Deb, for that offer. We'll continue to follow up offline with emails and try to come up with a game plan. And everybody's welcome to participate and encouraged to participate. The next topic on the agenda was, I'm sorry, did somebody have something? Oops, looks like Andy left the meeting. Thank you, Andy. Katie, you wanted some time to talk about the Waste Reduction Task Force?
Sure. Just want to give a quick update on the Waste Reduction Task Force. We're meeting monthly. We're looking at both kind of short-term and long-term initiatives to reduce waste. On the short-term front, we continue to pursue getting signage at the transfer station, which is actually something that we have now been pursuing since Q4 of last year. And I would seek advice from anyone on this committee as to why something as basic as signage is taking so long to get done. So we're pursuing that. The other thing we're hoping to progress, which Harvey's had said that they would be interested in doing, is offering a composting, option at the transfer station, which would then enable us to do promotion around all the composting options that we have in town, from the Green Earth option to potentially do it yourself, to the Harvey's option, and hoping to get an update from Steve Bakari at our meeting tomorrow. And then Carol Lauren from the Waste Task Force Committee had reached out to you and hoping to hear from you about maybe just kind of some education work that we could do around waste management on the various news outlets and kind of social media channels.
So just who's on the Waste Management Task Force?
Steve Bakari, Dr. Ehrlich, Scott Kadish, who you guys know, myself, and I think like 3 or 4 more community members.
Okay, and then you said something that I didn't quite understand. Somebody was looking for help on communications or something. What was the?
Yeah.
Say that again?
So Lauren, can't remember her last name off the top of my head, but Lauren has reached out to Carol to see, if we can coordinate some, education efforts just around continuing to remind people about what's the right way to recycle. We can promote the recording of the composting webinar that we did earlier in the year, promote the Green Earth, hopefully promote the composting at the transfer station when we have that. But just, one of the objectives of the Waste Task Force Committee is to look at what are the, ongoing education opportunities that we might want to tackle.
So we should talk about the relationship between the task force and Sustainable Westborough, and kind of what expectations you have of Sustainable Westborough, and Carol and others that, so do you have some thoughts on that? What are your expectations of this group? And
well, I'm a member of Sustainable Westborough. I'm a member of this task force. So looking to Sustainable Westborough to hopefully assist with any education work that we might want to do. And when we get to a point of actually making a policy recommendation for, would be the 2022 timeframe, hopefully the endorsement of the Sustainable Westborough group but we're not at a point where we can make any sort of policy recommendations at this point.
So like on the Climate Action Plan Task Force, we have our own communication plan and we're doing our own thing. So we're operating pretty independent of Sustainable Westborough, trying to keep people informed, but we're doing our own, calling our own meetings, making our own slides and so forth.
We're doing the same thing too. I'm talking more about education to the public. Like, for example, if we want to
so am I.
educate I mean, I don't think it makes sense to set up a whole new another social media channel and all that entails around just the topic of waste.
So I'll leave it to Carol to decide how much time and bandwidth she has, because she's taken on a lot with the electricity program. Certainly the mediums, the Sustainable Westborough website and so forth, I think could be available if somebody creates content. It wasn't clear to me whether you were asking her to create content. Educational content.
The idea would be that Lauren or other members of the waste task force would create the content, and we could hopefully collaborate to get the word out. I mean, but obviously we would be creating the content.
Okay, it wasn't obvious to me. That's why I was asking. So, Carol, do you want to take that offline, or do you have a response or comments?
Yeah, Katie, I've just gotten back from vacation, and I'll be in touch with you or Lauren tomorrow, okay, to start having that discussion, okay?
Yeah, I had told Lauren that I figured you were on vacation, and I knew I was going to talk to you today. And of course, this has to fit in with your whole calendar of everything else that you're doing. So if right now the push is on the I can't remember the name of it, but the choice program, I mean, if that's what we really need to focus on right now, it's just more hopefully that we could collaborate together where it makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's it. And then I would have to say that if it goes another month and we can't get signage to happen at Harvey's, I will probably come back to this group to see what ideas you have or how you can help, because I just personally think it's a really small thing to do, and it just seems inconceivable to me that it hasn't been done yet.
So has Scott Kadish asked Christy Williams to call Harvey's and say the town wants this?
Well, Steve has been, Steve Bakari
Steve, I had the wrong name. Steve Bacardi is who I meant.
Steve's already been in conversation with Harvey's. Steve hasn't taken this to, Christy yet, but I guess he could as a next step.
That would certainly carry more weight than anybody here, maybe other than Lee. You can either take it to the town manager or to the Board of Selectmen to escalate it if Harvey's isn't meeting the town's needs. I don't quite understand exactly what's being requested. You're saying signage. That sounds good.
Well, I mean, it's a common issue that we hear, that when people go to the transfer station, there are no signs to direct them what should be recycled, what you can and can't do. So people are throwing out their recycled in plastic bags, which isn't allowed. They're throwing away styrofoam. They're not throwing things in the right place because there is no actual signage that would actually direct you on what to throw where and what you can and can't throw.
Lee, you're muted. Yep.
Yeah, I'd be glad to help you on that, Katie. I had spoken to Ben Harvey about that in the past, that we need citizens. I think it actually came up at one of our selectmen's meetings or an adjunct meeting where we're saying, you know, how do you educate citizens on what they actually can do? So I think they were dragging their feet some on that, and I'd be glad to talk with you about it offline.
Yeah, and keep in mind, before COVID-19, we were actually, I think we went at least 3 times, if not 4, with Scott Kadish and the Rotary, and we actually handed out like flyers to people as they were waiting in line to go to the transfer station. And we did, of course, include what can and can't be recycled in the water bill that went out in January. So it's not like we haven't, you know, taken, you know, other education, you know, measures, but having the actual signs when you get there as additional reinforcement would be like ideal. So yeah, Lee, I'll let you know if coming out of tomorrow, we still don't have progress. And then I think long-term, we're gonna look at what other towns are doing who seem to be doing a better job with their waste practices to hopefully inform what we could propose as a kind of change. But change would be for the 2022 cycle, just given how the contracts work and the procuring of the stickers at the transfer station.
In your introductory comments, you said there's short-term and long-term. Is 2022 your long-term bucket?
Correct. Yeah, that's the long-term bucket.
Are people considering pay for throw option?
I mean, I think anything is on the table. I think pay as you throw was, you know, a humongous disaster last time.
Well, it's the process,
So,
it's the program that's been most successful in the state.
well, it's the program that's been the most successful in the state, but it was already tried here and went down in mega flames. So I think that'll certainly be an option on the table, along with like maybe some other kind of options as well. But yeah, I mean, that'll certainly be, you know, in the mix. If you look at what other towns do, there could be kind of a tweener strategy that might be acceptable. So a tweener strategy is you can throw out 2 bags, and then like after the first 2 bags, that's when you have to do pay as you throw or put a sticker on your bag. So, you know, there's just, you know, a couple different things that we might consider doing, but definitely pay as you throw could be in the mix.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Any questions for Katie? We are at 8:30, and I try to keep our meeting time prompt. Quick little update on master plan had kind of went into a pause for 60 to 90 days. Lee may know more than I do, but we're due to start up again here very soon with the master plan, which had been put on hold. The climate action plan has continued to progress, and we are planning a community outreach program starting in September. We have a meeting next Monday, a week from today, and coming out of that, we'll be finalizing the communication plan and the presentation, and I would like to send it to this group for feedback and possibly even do a dry run with this committee, which has always got good ideas and no hesitation to critique. So I think it would be very helpful.
Would it be inappropriate for us to request that the master plan community notices come out like from the middle of September on, like not to steal the thunder on September 8th or anywhere around there for the plan?
I think that will happen. It's the master plan advisory committee hasn't met in a few months. So I think before anything goes public, there's going to be a master plan advisory committee meeting. It's not even scheduled yet. So I think you're pretty safe that they won't be ready to go public before mid-September. but I'll keep that in mind. I had one thing for Eileen, but I'll follow up with you offline on Mass Energy Insight. And does anybody else have anything else they'd like to add to the meeting before we adjourn? Very good. Thank you very much. The meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.